Good morning. Happy Friday. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. We made it, Carlene. We made it. We made it to Friday. I'm your biggest cheerleader here.
That's true. That's true.
Hey, look, somebody has to get you through the morning, through the afternoon. I'm your guy
you
this
always
week.
Do.
I do my best. Carlene, that's super producer Carlene Bragg right in front of me. Man, it has been a week. It has been a week.
It's been a week. But we ended on a high.
We ended on a high because we have a new face, a potential new star coming to the Carolinas. I'm talking about the NFL draft. Let me set it up for you guys. So the NFL draft was last night. We had our NFL special right here on WCNC Plus. It was a great special. So I had my phone in one hand watching the special, and then I had the draft. And my plan was I was going to make it to Carolina's pick, and then I was going to go to bed.
Yeah.
I was sleepy. And so I'm watching the special. I'm watching the draft. And so I made my predictions yesterday. I said,
yes, you did.
I said Mason Graham, Jalen Walker, Ted McMillan. And so I'm looking at the draft unfold. I'm like, wow, we might get Mason Graham from Michigan.
Yeah.
He gets selected number 6. To the Browns. I said, okay. Well, I think the Panthers are going to trade back to get Jalen Walker. They go on the clock. They did not trade back.
They did not.
And they take Ted McMillan, T-Mac.
T-Mac.
I'm not mad at the pick. I like the pick. I think
It's exciting.
What it shows is that the Panthers are really invested in Bryce Young. Bryce Young is really high on this guy. We learned that Bryce Young and Ted McMillan worked out together before the draft. So it shows that, look, you're really, although the Panthers need to do more to bolster their defense, they're really trying to beef up their offense and get more options for Bryce Young, which showed promise at the end of last season. But this Ted McMillan guy, Carlene,
tall glass of water, right? Long, lanky, tall glass of water.
6'4", 219.
I mean, you saw the highlights of them running. I'm like, this man is like Gumby running. He's tall, he's got a wingspan.
Man, it is about to get scary. If it all pans out, it is going to be a scary wide receiver duo with Xavier Legette, Ted McMillan, and then we also have Adam Thielen coming back, who is a reliable wide receiver. So the Panthers select Ted McMillan. with the 8th pick in last night's draft, and look, I like it. I've seen some of the draft grades this morning, anywhere between A- to C, which is pretty decent. So I guess the average is about B. Like they're rating the Panthers draft pick at a B. Not bad,
Not
right?
bad.
You could bomb that pick. It's
B
easy to
degrees.
bomb that pick. We'll see how it shakes out day 2 of the draft, but. Yeah, I was excited. I always get excited with the first pick. So look, we'll see how it shakes out day 2. But before we get to day 2, we want to recap round 1.
Yep.
For those who missed it, Nick Carboni was up bright and early after doing the draft.
Bright and early.
After doing the draft special, that's a lot of work.
That's a lot.
Shout out to Carboni. Shout out to our friends on Locked On. Shout out to Danielle Stein, who was at Bank of America Stadium. Jeb Goldman, who was doing a lot of work prior to and during the draft special. Also made an appearance. I'm going to get on Jeb when he comes in this afternoon. If he comes on the stream, we're going to have a discussion about his draft strategy for the Panthers, because I don't think it went how he thought it was.
The boys have been working on it for a long, long time.
Hey, listen to the diehard fan. I don't think. It's some advice for you, Jeb. Listen to the diehard. I know what I'm talking about.
That's right.
But we'll try to get Jeb on a little later. But we want to get to Nick Carboni, who was on the stream this morning, recapping that first round in that 8th pick, Ted McMillan.
Peter talked about all of it for us. WCNC Charlotte Sports Director Nick Carboni. Nick, thanks for waking up early. We appreciate it. Oh, by the way, shout out to Nick, because he had a marathon night last night on WCNC.
Long night last night.
Like, provided coverage you can't get anywhere else. It was fantastic. That brings me to the first question, though. The Panthers draft pick. How would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, everybody should go back and see my reaction, because we were live, and I was truly shocked that they went with an offensive player. Everybody came into this draft thinking the Panthers were going to, continue to address the defense, but instead they pick Tetaroa McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I might have gone 8 out of 10, but I don't think the shock has worn off still. But this is clearly a guy that this franchise wants to bring in to help Bryce Young. He is the most important piece to all of this working out long term. So as much as their defense needed to be addressed this offseason, and they did a lot of work on that defense, spent a lot of money on the defense in free agency, helping Bryce Young is going to go a long way for this franchise. And McMillan, I mean, if he works out, he could be a dynamo in this division and this league. When teams are looking at draft prospects, a lot of it is projection, and what helps projection is, quite frankly, your athleticism and your size. And I don't think any of the defensive players that were still available at number 8 appealed to the Panthers in every single way and maybe checked all of those boxes. But an offensive player did, and that was Tetaroa McMillan. So he will be walking into Bank of America Stadium today, as surprised as many of us still are.
We've been reading that he likes to be called T-Mac, so we've been referring to him as such this morning. And again, as you said, a surprise by many people there. What do you think he will bring to this team? I know he's going to be the rookie, of course, coming in. What can he bring to this Panthers team?
Yeah, it was easy to shorten it to Tet for all of us, but we're going to have to lose that because T-Mac is in town today. So I think I mentioned just the size. He is a 6'4" receiver, and this is where football becomes simple to think about, right? If you are 6'4", and I'm not sure what his wingspan is, but they call it a catch radius. So if Bryce Young gets it anywhere near this guy up here, he can go out and pluck it out of the air. He's got great hands. Now, they did draft a receiver in the first round. Last year, Xavier Legette didn't have the best rookie season, but he still could improve. And what McMillan and Legette give Bryce Young and the Panthers are two guys that their natural ability is to go down the field and catch what they call, make what they call contested catches. So even if a defender is draped all over them, they're big enough, athletic enough, and have good enough hands to go get the ball anyway. So McMillan brings them that. He was one of the best receivers in college football for the last 2 years at what they call stretching the field, so making big plays down the field. from the Panthers offense the last handful of years, we've seen just, way too much, 5 yards, 4-yard passes, 6-yard passes. He is somebody that averaged, I think, 16 yards per reception last year in college. A first down is 10 yards, so if you're getting 16, you are on your way marching down the field to the end zone. The Panthers needed somebody to stretch the field, and Tatora McMillan could give them that.
So that was last night. What about tonight? What are you looking forward to the team doing tonight?
Yeah, well, looking at the available players tonight, Ben, there's a good chance Carolina can still address, some of its depth and talent issues on defense in round 2. There is a good collection of edge rushers, guys that get after the quarterback, available tonight, even some that I thought they could have picked at 8 last night. There are some safeties. They need a new safety. They could get one of them tonight, and defensive tackle, so interior defensive line. So they did spend all of their money in free agency on defense. The work there is not done. They just happen to like a receiver best at number 8, but make no mistake, General Manager Dan Morgan, who was a defensive star for Carolina, can't watch the defense he watched last year again this year. So I think it'll be defense. I really do think there's a good collection of players that will be available. Part of the Panthers wanted to potentially trade that 8th pick last night and move back a little bit, and what that would have done is probably had a team send them an earlier second round pick tonight. Right now they pick 25th in the second round. There's still a way they could move up in the second round to pick a little bit earlier and get somebody they like. But as I said, looking at the list of available players, matching it up with the Panthers' needs, they may not have to. They could wait till towards the end of the second round tonight. But I think at some point they're going to make a trade up in the next couple of days. We'll see if it's tonight.
Certainly there were a lot of surprises last night in that first round, so we'll see what happens tonight. We should also talk about Jalen Walker. Many thought the Panthers might have chosen Walker, but they did not. He is now heading to Atlanta.
Yeah, so that was one of the crazy things about, you talked about how long we were on last night on WCNC Plus and WFNY Plus in Greensboro. We had a live camera in Salisbury, North Carolina, at the Country Club in Salisbury on Jalen Walker and his family, and everything leading up to last night pointed to Jalen Walker becoming a Carolina Panther. So when he and his family were on camera and we're watching the Panthers on the clock, what we're not seeing is him accepting a phone call and everybody celebrating. That's when we knew he was not going to be a Carolina Panther. And I know that was probably a disappointing moment for the family, but no doubt that Jalen was going to go in the first round last night. And, I think he's going to be quite happy with where he is. If folks saw he wore a red and black suit and now he played at Georgia, and now he doesn't have to trade that suit in for a different color because he is going to the Atlanta Falcons. So that's the other interesting component of this, right, is didn't get picked by the Panthers, but now he's going to play for their rival, play against them twice a year, and he will play in Bank of America Stadium on Sundays just once a year, and I think he'll be pretty motivated. Also want to mention Charlotte native James Pierce Jr. also got picked by the Falcons last night, so you're going to have a couple of motivated Charlotte area guys playing the Panthers twice a year.
Oh, we noticed Jalen's suit this morning.
We did.
And we're like, was that coincidental? Was that intentional?
Did he know? Yeah.
I was wondering, maybe I should have read into that later, but I do think he thought he was going to the Panthers just based on how everybody looked on camera on our live feed on WCNC Plus during that 8th pick. But, Danielle Stein did a wonderful story on the Walker family this week.
Yes.
It's on WCNC.com now. And, he's going to bring a lot, football-wise and just as a person to the Falcons.
In your mind, what was the biggest surprise of the night?
The Panthers pick was up there. I mean, that did send kind of like reverberations throughout the league. Like, whoa, the Panthers did what? I mean, everybody thought when people talked about the Panthers in the draft, there wasn't like a lot of chatter about it, a lot of, oh, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. No, they're going to pick Jalen Walker, whoever the best defensive guy is. So that actually was a big stunner last night, but I don't think it trumps the biggest stunner, and you guys brought it up, and that was the Browns and Jaguars trade. So right off the bat, the Titans pick Cam Ward, the quarterback. We all knew that was going to happen. And then boom, we get this massive trade. And and it's interesting. I'll have to informally poll some of my Cleveland Brown fan friends. I did ask Brad Panovich about it last night. He does like the pick and the deal for the Browns, but the Jaguars get Travis Hunter, this once in a generation player who wants to play offense and defense, and just won the Heisman Trophy. So he goes to Jacksonville, who pays a king's ransom to move up and get him. And Jacksonville has an offensive-minded new head coach, so I'm excited to see what he wants to do with Travis Hunter as a wide receiver. He's the best receiver in the draft, but he's listed as a cornerback. He's a fascinating case, and we'll see what happens. And for the Browns, I think it was a kind of a pragmatic move. Hey, we don't need to go for the big splashy pick this year. We'll get Jacksonville's 5th pick this year and a first-round pick next year, among other things. And they picked Mason Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan, which actually kind of signaled to us pretty early that the night may not go as the Panthers had planned, because I think they were hoping Graham was available, and they may have taken him at number 8.
Interesting. So some of these teams are really playing the long game.
Yep. Oh, yeah, especially Cleveland. And that may be the right play for Cleveland based on the last couple of years.
All right, Nick Carboni, join us live. I don't know where you're at, but I've heard a mix of Yanni, opera music, and now a kid in the background, showing that you're devoted to your profession no matter where you are. And we certainly appreciate it.
I'm not sure where that's coming from, but we'll get that ironed out.
You hear that too?
Oh, I thought I heard something. I wasn't sure exactly what it was, but you were so detailed. I was like, gosh, Ben is listening very closely. I do hear something. I heard something about, I thought it may have been a kid, but I wasn't sure.
And maybe a fountain in the background too. Nope. Maybe we're hearing things. Either one. Nick Carboni, thanks for waking up early with us. Thanks for your insight and expertise.
Honestly, we were trying to figure out what that sound was too. We were just as curious. I was curious, but look, as Nick Carboni just laid out there, I think the Panthers and Dave Canales hinted at this before the draft, that they really like Mason Graham, a huge presence on Michigan's defensive line. I think once he went to the Browns at 6, I think the Panthers shift gears and say, hey, we want to take Ted McMillan. I think those two guys, Ted and Mason Graham, were the two guys they really loved. And so, I think the trading back, if I reflect hard enough, I think the trading back, I think the taking the Jalen Walker pick, I think that was kind of a smokescreen to who they really wanted to take. Which, look, we'll see how it works out. Nothing is guaranteed in the NFL when it comes to draft picks. But it's still, as you mentioned yesterday, you said it best, it's an exciting moment for families.
Oh my gosh, yeah. The kid that the Saints picked.
Yeah. The offensive tackle.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got teary-eyed.
Yeah, no, it is. I'm looking up the draft order now.
Reached for his mom, and oh my God, it was the sweetest thing. He was crying into that hat. I mean, you could just tell, this is a dream coming true.
It is. Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas, offensive tackle.
That was the sweetest thing.
The draft can do two things as far as when you see the shot of the families.
Yeah.
Provide funny moments. Or very warm, heart-wrenching moments.
Yeah.
There are a lot of.
He was an offensive tackle, right?
Offensive tackle, yeah.
I mean, this is a big kid, he was crying, sobbing to his mom, and it's so
and then you see that, and then you see the disappointment too, the guys that think they should have been in the first round or hope to be in the hope to be in the first round.
Yeah.
And you feel bad for those kids. I'm thinking Shedeur Sanders, who thought he would and hope he would go in the first round. But look, things happen for a reason.
Yep.
We'll see how things pan out in day 2. But again, I don't want to take away anything.
There's greats that don't get selected in the first couple rounds.
Right. Our Super Bowl champion quarterback for the Eagles, your guy. Yeah. Jalen Hurts.
I have a crush on Jalen. To pull the curtain back here, I have a crush on Jalen Hurts.
I wasn't going to expose
I'm a Bills fan. I said I have a crush on Jalen Hurts.
But he was not a first-round pick.
No.
He was not a highly touted quarterback coming into the draft. So
right,
you land in the place you're supposed to land. And so this could work out for whoever wasn't selected so far. So last night we heard from Dave Canales, head coach of the Panthers, and we heard from Dan Morgan, GM for the Panthers. They're going into year 2 of their collaboration as far as building this team, their vision for this team. Those guys, I saw that phone call that the Panthers, the video. Did you see that video? The Panthers making a phone call to Tedman. A lot of excitement there in the building. We got a chance to hear from both of them last night after the pick.
How you doing?
How we doing?
Good. Oh, doing good. Oh, okay. Yeah, first of all, we're super excited about, our 8th pick, getting Tet. He's somebody that we obviously really liked. Thought he could really add a different dimension to our offense and just add another playmaker to the offensive side of the ball. So not only a great player, but, he's a great kid and somebody that Dave and I really value. So we're excited to have him in the building and excited to get going with him.
Can you tell us about some of the calls that you were fielding? We heard that you were fielding some calls for that number 8 pick.
Yeah, we did. We had a few calls. Obviously, you entertain everything, and, at the end of it, we wanted to get our guy, and we're excited about it.
What wide receiver at this point versus defense, which you said was a big need coming into the offseason?
Yeah, and it's still a need, and we have 8 more picks. So we wanted to add the best player. We wanted to follow our board of who we thought was going to help us the most up there. So again, we got our guy, and we're excited about it.
And you said he adds a different dimension, actually, for both of you guys. What is that dimension, and was there any concern about kind of his lack of, elite speed?
Yeah, I think he has really good play speed. I think the thing that pops off the tape about Ted is just how smooth he is, his body control, his ability to adjust to all types of throws, his catch radius, and his hands are elite. He catches everything outside his frame, and he can win the jump ball down the field and in the red zone. He's a guy that has 18 touchdowns the past 2 years, so he puts the ball in the end zone, and obviously that's something that we want to do.
Dave, do you view him as a day 1 impact starter?
Absolutely. He's going to have to work for it. He certainly, comes in just like everybody else, and comes into a talented group. Probably the thing I'm most excited about is just the further we dug in, the pro day, all the postseason work, just getting to know the guy, spending time with him. We had him here on a 30 visit, to be able to spend a little bit more time and just making sure that he was the right fit for our team. The type of players we're looking for. They love playing ball. They love to work on their.
And we wanted to pause that interview, that press conference, because that is President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump as they depart Joint Base Andrews for Rome. They're headed to Rome for Pope Francis's funeral that will be held tomorrow. And again, tributes continue to pour in after Pope Francis passed away Monday morning at the age of 88, known as the People's Pope. But again, you see President Trump waving as he boards Air Force One, headed to Rome, again, for the funeral mass for Pope Francis, who passed away this week. Again, so many people there at St. Peter's Square, honoring the Pope, paying their final respects. The president, along with other dignitaries, will be there to honor the life of Pope Francis. So again, that is a live look right now here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. You want to get back to the press conference? Let's get back to that press conference there with the Panthers and Dave Canales talking about the pick from yesterday.
And it really shows up, when I just kind of, we were, Dan and I, just the last couple of days, as we're getting ready for this pick, we're just nitpicking, and so I put my receiver coach hat on, and just watched his pro day and watched his just his route craft, the way that he can reduce his surface in the top of routes as a 6'4" guy, the way he comes back to the ball, some of the things that you look for as a great starting point for a receiver, and so, giving us that good size element, the red zone target, a lot of things to be excited about, so something that was really cool for us to just come together on, and kind of knew, unless somebody blew us out of the water with something, we weren't going to let our guy pass, and so it was a great moment for us.
much of an impact did the additions that you guys were able to add on the defensive side of the ball in free agency, how much did that impact your draft board?
I mean, you certainly take it all into consideration, but like Dan said, we follow the board. You know, you rank the players how you like them and where the talent's at, and so you just stay true to it. And it comes right to you. You know, some of those picks right before us, you know, really thought, you know, the fifth pick was a big moment for us. You know, kind of like what was going to happen here that was going to help us get our guy at that point. And so, you know, with Cleveland taking Mason Graham right there in that spot, you know, the board kind of felt like Ted's going to make it, and we're holding our breath right there, you know, for a couple more picks, but really excited about that.
You guys as a program have preached size and length. Obviously, McMillan fits those molds. I'm just curious, how does he fit into like the wide receiver room from a complementary standpoint, outside of those attributes?
Yeah, shoot, you got like a basketball team going on right now. You know, there's different attributes, you know, and you know, Xavier, the power and speed he brings, Thielen's craftsmanship. You know, you saw Jalen Coker come on strong last year. You know, Tet all of a sudden brings in this really long, you know, 6'4" target to kind of round out the group. So, you know, it's a really cool group to think about. You know, and I mean, obviously, like right off the bat, you know, Brad and Rob come down the hall, and I'm like, all right, boys, here we go. You know, and so pretty exciting.
I know I harp on this point a lot, but you're a former wide receivers coach. Brad's a former wide receivers coach. Rob, all of his accolades. You guys have invested so heavily in wide receiver. From a developmental standpoint, how much pressure does that put on you guys to kind of deliver and make that group kind of ascend?
I love that. You know, I love for the pressure to be on us to utilize these guys with their talents, the unique abilities they have, to fit them into the core of our schemes, to continue to find out who we are and to find that identity, you know, in the pass game. And then, of course, you know, just from a team standpoint, you know, just getting football players, getting dogs, getting playmakers, and we really felt like we got that intent.
How much did just the way Bryce finished the season and seeing that uptick, how much did that go into like saying, look, we got defensive needs, but we got to get this quarterback another weapon?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think for me it's and for Dan as well, you know, we got to do what's best for the team, and the best thing we can do is to evaluate our board to stay true to where we have guys at. And when you really like have conviction about a player, and they come to you, you know, the alternatives, like the trade alternatives and all those things, they got to like blow you out of the water, you know, to pass up on all the work that's been done, you know, not just, you know, myself and Dan, but his whole staff, my staff as well, just looking at these guys and being able to evaluate them and so that it's a collective decision, so that we all go into this thing with a commitment to make the Panthers better.
You guys both had said individually this offseason that you were good with the receiver group you have. Clearly, you felt it needed another piece, though.
No, I wouldn't so much say that. I mean, you know, I just think, again, like you follow your board and you take the best players, and Tet was high on our board. We obviously felt really good about him, and he was there for the taking, so we didn't want to pass up on a good player.
Was there a particular moment where you guys looked at each other and said, okay, this is our guy?
I felt like it was about like every time we watched him, we're just like, you know, another great catch, and just the way that he just it's effortless, that the way he catches the ball, and he catches everything outside his frame, and he's just a great receiver that is super fluid. His body control is some of the best I've seen in a while. So yeah, he's exciting.
And the one thing that I really learned from Dan just through the process is the biggest challenge, which is all still new to me as a head coach, is to get into the horizontal comparisons of offensive players versus defensive players. And when you start looking player for player and the dynamic way that they move, the dynamic way they play, and having to try to compare them across different positions, apples to oranges, was really kind of where we came back in the process and kept putting him on. And then you're like really excited, and you almost can't turn the tape off. So it's like it stood out, you know, in such a special way that, you know, he made the decision easy for us.
Yeah.
You guys 2 years in a row, wide receiver, first round, you turning into an offensive guy there?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm turning into a guy that just wants to bring good football players in here, and it's just another opportunity to bring a great player in here.
Is there a chance you're not done today?
No. Yeah. No, I think we're done. Yeah. I was like, no, I meant like, no, we're not.
When you look at last year's draft,
Your eyes got really big, Bob.
yeah, I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna be busy. When you look at the way you guys handled last year's draft, now that this first pick's in, what lessons can you possibly take from last year that you might apply now to day 2 and day 3?
Yeah, I think it's just going back, reassessing your board, and trying to figure out what guy is going to fall to us at 57, and then just kind of weighing the options of, hey, should we trade up? Should we stay where we're at? Should we trade back? So, I just think all options are on the table again, right, with this second pick, and, we're just going to attack it, and we're going to follow the board.
Could you have traded back? Did you have like a form off?
We had a lot of people sniffing around. I think it would have had to be something above and beyond, for us to kind of pull off this pick. But yeah, that's where we were.
You said you had some good conversations leading up to the draft with him. Can you talk about the cultural fit that he might be with this team?
Yeah, I mean, and then speaking to just kind of like the lessons learned from one year to the next, we look at the guys that we brought in last year, and they fit the profile of what we want for Panthers football players, and so that's really that commitment, kind of looking at the guys that that just like the more that we watched him, the more that you see the different parts of his craft show up. You can tell this is a guy that works on it a lot. For a 6'4" guy to be able to reduce at the top of his routes the way he does, that takes work. And his speed cuts and all those things, that you just kind of see somebody that's working on his game. And so I think just taking a note out of that, and just knowing that we're getting another person that fits into what we're trying to do, and the guy's a baller. And that's like, there's a simple way to look at it. You watch film, and the ballers show up, and they make plays in big moments, and they're always looking to do something special.
Either one of you, the defense had historical struggles last year. With the offensive wide receiver group, you have 2 guys already above 6 foot, 6'3". What would you say to the fans about what you believe about this defense, not taking a pick in the defensive side of the ball this early in the draft? What would your message to the fans be about what you believe about this defense?
I'll go first. Same thing. We're trying to do the best thing for the Panthers, and that's our commitment. Is if we can stay true to our evaluation process and follow the board, be disciplined about that over time, we'll select the players that we have conviction on, that we're all on the same page with, all on the same board. All on board with, to make those choices, and so I think the consistency of the players that we're looking for is what we're after, and I think that it's been said, in different ways, like if you start to chase needs and you're not just being true to your process and true to the players that come to you and the ones you have belief in, I think that, sometimes that you can, get yourself a little bit out of whack and not in alignment for what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and we did attack our defensive needs through free agency, and again, we have eight picks left, and our board has a lot of defensive guys on there as well, so it's definitely not something that we're going to neglect.
Dave, I don't think you answered this already. Apologize if you did, but have you communicated with Bryce yet about this?
Yeah, right away. We got him on speakerphone and talked to Bryce. He's fired up. So another Southern California guy. They kind of played. They were in different times, but Servite High School, Mater Dei are rivals. And they're kind of in the same area. So there's no love lost there. But I think for the culture of what we're trying to do, that part is just a bonus.
And a little bit similar question, but do you, on something like this, do you communicate to Xavier Legette, who might feel a little threatened by this pick?
Not right now. Right now, we're celebrating this moment with our guys, and when Ted gets here, well, again, tomorrow will be an opportunity. He'll be in here at some point, so I'm sure, the fans will be able to meet him at some point tomorrow. But right now, it's just about celebrating this moment, and when he comes in here, he's a Panther. He's one of us.
Was this pick something?
Have an indictment of Legette in his early development?
No, Xavier, he wants to win, and that's all Xavier cares about. Just kind of going back to that question, Xavier wants to win, and he's hungry to go out there and compete and show up big this year. And I know he's been working his butt off, and we're excited about him, and we're excited about the team and the direction that we're headed.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
See you guys.
That was Dan Morgan and Dave Canales recapping. They're excited about Ted McMillan and the future of that franchise. All right, we want to shift gears now. We want to go to Boston, where right now that Karen Reed trial day, this is day 4 of the trial. So let me set it up for you guys. So today is expected to be a half day in the Karen Reed murder trial, with jurors visiting the home in Canton, Massachusetts, where John O'Keefe's body, that's Karen Reed's boyfriend, was found in January 2022. So let's listen in on day 4 of the Karen Reed retrial that's underway.
To the front line. And we'll be asking you to take a good look at that Lexus, to stand next to it, to size it up, to take it in. You were all selected as jurors because the parties entrusted that you would do a proper investigation of this case within this courtroom. On behalf of Ms. Reed, we have every confidence that you will do a proper investigation. Thank you.
All right, jurors, I have to make something very clear. So the purpose of this view is to help you better to understand the evidence that you'll hear during the trial and to help you appreciate the location and its surroundings. The view you'll take is part of this case. The observations that you make while on the view may be used and considered by you in your deliberations in reaching a verdict. So at the end of the trial, when I explain to you what is evidence and what is not, I'll remind you that your observations on this view can be used by you in your deliberations. Also, while you're in the view, the same way you're not to take any notes or photographs, you're not to conduct any investigation on this case. You really are simply to stop and look, okay? Those are the instructions. We will see you in a few minutes. All right, thank you. Oh, sorry, Madam Clerk has to swear in the court officers.
You could all raise your right hand, please. Do each of you solemnly swear that you will take the jury upon the premises in question and there suffer them to view the same or any property, place, or thing bearing upon the issue in the trial as the parties may think necessary, that you will not permit the parties to enter into a debate in the hearing of the jury, nor any person to speak to them unless it be the attorneys of record, then only to point out such places or things as they may deem expedient for the determination of the issues, that you will keep the jury together until they shall return to court, unless the court shall otherwise order, so help you God. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, please. Jurors, follow me.
And you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. That was a live look inside the Karen Reed trial there in Boston. Again, today is expected to be a half day in this trial, with jurors visiting the home in Canton, Massachusetts, where John O'Keefe's body was found back in January 2022. All right, so we want to get back to the NFL draft. The NFL draft was last night, a big night for a lot of families. The young men drafted to their next home, their new home. And so this morning we had a special guest. We had Reginald Walker Jr. I know him as Reggie. He's a good guy. So Reggie was from Sports Business Journal. It was on the stream this morning, recapping round 1, the Panthers selection. So let's listen in to that interview.
The second and third rounds will be held today.
Joining us this morning to talk more draft and the Panthers' choice to pick that wide receiver is Reginald Walker Jr. from the Sports Business Journal. Reginald, good morning to you. Thanks for getting up to speak with us. So we had to get your opinion. What did you think of the Panthers' pick last night?
Well, first and foremost, good morning. I'll say it this way. It was not a shock, but certainly a surprise. I thought they would go defense with the 8th pick, with the issues that they had last season on the defensive side of the football, but instead going Tetero, McMillan. I actually liked the pick in a lot of ways. I just did not expect that to be the pick at that spot.
Yeah, sharing the same sentiment that our sports director, Nick Carboni, shared as well with us. What do you think? Can T-Mac, do you think he can step in right away?
I do. I think he can immediately be a part of this offense. I think there are some situations and scenarios, particularly if you get into some third and long type situations where you're looking at a scenario where McMillan's on the field with Adam Thielen, with Xavier Legette, with Jake Coker as well. So you start looking at that, you see a a great deal of guys in that group that can win some one-on-one matchups from time to time. So I think you have to like that situation. And then you think about it projecting down the road. Adam Thielen is going to turn 35 years old just before the season starts. So McMillan could potentially slide right into that slot, gives them a big target as well going down the middle of the field.
I don't think that the number one pick, Cam Ward, came as a surprise to anyone. But what did you think of some of the other surprises last night? The whole Cleveland-Jacksonville trade-up. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I suspected that Cleveland might be active. I was actually, going backwards for a second, I was actually in Nashville earlier this week, had a chance to see the Browns owner, Jimmy Haslam, talk to him briefly. The city there was expecting and very excited for Cam Ward with the Tennessee Titans. On the added piece of that, getting back to the Browns and the trade, you knew the Jaguars had to do something to mix things up with their fortunes over the last few years. They're set at quarterback with a guy like Trevor Lawrence. They've had some issues. They picked up a bunch of receivers the last couple of years and then let some of those guys go because it didn't work out. You wondered if they would be aggressive, and they absolutely were aggressive. They go up and they get Travis Hunter, a guy that gives them something on both sides of the football, a dynamic playmaker. This is a Jaguars team that's also getting ready to undergo a stadium renovation. They're going to be playing in different places. They're looking for a draw, and certainly Travis Hunter gives them that. Very aggressive in doing so, but the Cleveland Browns, smart by them, they essentially, when you take out some of the pick swaps, they net 2 draft picks out of this. Obviously, this year, picking up a pick, but a first-round pick next year as well. So I think a good trade all the way around. Jacksonville gets their guy, and Cleveland gets more draft capital to fix a football team that's really been bad.
Let's go to the other name a lot of Panther fans were following last night. That's Jalen Walker. A lot thought he would go to the Panthers. Instead, he gets picked up by the Falcons. Is he going to be a thorn in the Panthers' side all season?
Absolutely correct. He will be a thorn in the side of the Carolina Panthers for many years to come. I just like his ability off the edge. He's twitchy. He understands angles, makes the right decisions. But what I love the most about this kid, obviously, besides the fact that he's local and his father, he's a son of a coach, right? So his IQ is going to be something that is absolutely consistently growing because he understands how to study the game. Clearly had that opportunity early as a young kid. His father, a former head coach at Catawba College. So he really understands the game. I think that's what's going to help him become an absolute menace to the NFC South for years to come.
We should add that he is not the only son of a coach. We know that Shedeur Sanders, the son of Deion Sanders, is still available in the draft. What do you think will happen with that tonight? And also, what do you think the Panthers are going to go for tonight?
I think it's really interesting with what happens with Shedeur Sanders. Cleveland at the top of the second round. I suspect that they would be interested there. You can allow him to sit, even though probably most likely Deshaun Watson's going to be out this year with the re-tear, if you will, of his Achilles back in late November. I believe it was early January. So he had another surgery. He's likely going to miss the year. So you could potentially, obviously, if you go with Shedeur Sanders, he could potentially play. So that would help there. But then on the other side of things, maybe Cleveland's looking for some other options, looking for some other things. But I suspect Shedeur Sanders, who many had as a first-round talent, I suspect that he will come off the board in the first 2 or 3 picks here tonight in the second round.
All right. Reginald Walker Jr. with Sports Business Journal. Reginald, thanks for coming on. We appreciate you waking up with us.
Anytime. Really appreciate it.
Shout out to Reggie. He really knows what he's talking about. I think that was a great breakdown of that first round. I'm looking at the draft order right now. I really like, and this is a pick that a lot of folks have not talked about, but Ashton Jeanty from Boise State, the running back out of Boise State, that set a bunch of records there at Boise State, going to the Raiders, playing for a guy like Pete Carroll. They have Geno Smith, a veteran quarterback. I like that setup. He is a good running back. You don't hear running backs going this high, but I think he deserves it. I think he did really, really well in college. He was a Heisman finalist. So it makes sense. I think that was a great pick for the Raiders, who at one point were in the market for a quarterback, but I think they got that figured out with a veteran quarterback in Geno Smith. So.
I have to like Geno Smith because he's a West Virginia boy.
Oh, yeah.
So because Greg's a West Virginia boy.
Yeah.
So anytime Geno is mentioned, even though like Greg's a Ravens fan.
Yeah.
But love,
loyalty.
So much love. Yeah, his loyalty.
West Virginia legend, Geno Smith.
Yep.
People forget about that, but Geno.
So I hear about Geno quite a bit, even though like we really have no.
Is he going to get a Vegas Raiders?
Oh
Geno
no.
Smith? Okay.
No. But he just shows them love and support, and I hear about him quite a bit.
The Raiders have the best uniforms in the league.
They have sick uniforms. They have great uniforms.
It's a great uniform.
Yeah.
It's just black and silver.
But it's like
or silver
sleek.
and black.
It just looks dope. It looks great.
It's slick. I'm trying to think who I like from the draft. I like Jalen Walker with the Falcons. I really like Amarian Hampton from North Carolina, running back out of North Carolina. He went to L.A. Chargers. They needed a running back there. You pair him with a guy like Justin Herbert with a big arm. I think that's a sneaky pick.
How about the Bills?
The Bills. Maxwell Harrison. Look, I mean, anytime you can address DB, a guy like Maxwell Harrison, cornerback out of Kentucky, he was one of the fastest guys in the draft at his position. Anytime you can address defensive back in the first round, and you think you got your guy, I think that's a pretty good pick. Yeah. I like the pick. It's a solid pick. I mean, it's becoming a pass. It is a pass first league. So you need somebody that can stand out there on the island, can cover your number one receiver, and they believe Maxwell Harrison can do that. So fast guy. Yeah. But back to our guy, T-Mac.
Back to our guy.
T-Mac is I heard Nick Carboni say it on the stream last night. He has a wide catch radius. He can catch it from anywhere.
You saw the tape.
I saw the. That dude's a problem.
He's a problem. He's got such a. Oh, sorry, move the camera. I'm trying to do my own wingspan.
Her own wingspan.
I mean, some of these catches, I was like,
wow,
mm-hmm. Look at the arms go for miles.
I always say if with draft picks.
Yeah.
I say that with every draft pick. If it works out,
great.
His comparison, his comp, is T. Higgins from the Bengals. Yeah. Guys. For you guys that don't know, T. Higgins was one of the receivers the Panthers were trying to land this offseason. Couldn't get him, in the building because the Bengals signed him to a massive contract. They were not going to trade him away. But if that is his comp, and T. Higgins last season, oh my goodness, he torched the Panthers in that game. Mm-hmm. He's going to be scary good.
Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Yeah.
I want to know what number he's selecting. T-Mac. I wonder what name. We were talking about numbers earlier.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Xavier Legette, he was 17 at USC. He's 17 in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So Bryce, 9 at Alabama, 9 in the league. So
right.
We'll see. But we got a chance to hear from T-Mac in his first interview as a Panther. Was listening to that interview.
Y'all hear me?
We're good. We got you.
But hey, before y'all start, either call me T-Mac or Nalo.
Okay.
I gotta make a correction real quick.
All right, T-Mac. Well, thank you so much. We're so excited to have you. Welcome to Carolina. We will kick it off with Sheena, and then we will go to Darren, followed by Alex and Steve Reed.
Cool.
Well, let's try this thing again. T-Mac, welcome to the Carolinas. Can you walk us through the emotions as you took that phone call?
Yeah, man. I just feel just relief. Just finally knowing what team I get to play for. Man, I'm just blessed. I'm super grateful for this opportunity and this moment, and I'm just taking it all in right now.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it.
T-Mac, when you think about this offense you're joining at the moment, what do you know about this crowd, and how do you think you're going to fit into it?
Oh, man, I think it's going to be amazing. First things first, obviously, Bryce Young, Cali to Cali connection. That's immediately. And as well as, the other receivers, Xavier, Adam Thielen, And I feel like, our OC coach Izzik will definitely, put it together. I know Coach Canales calls the plays, and I'm confident in them, and they're confident in me, and I'm just ready, to take the Panthers to the next level.
Yeah, what do you remember about those interactions with Coach Canales in particular through this process?
Shoot, you know what? It was really just good vibes. It was nothing but good vibes. Really talking about just regular stuff. He's a kid from Carson, and I'm from Cali as well. So I feel like we hit it off really well, and really it was just kind of they took a chance on me, and I'm super blessed.
Hey, T Mac. So going off that, so quickly, you and Bryce Young went to rival high schools. I recently learned.
Yeah.
What about, do you remember, I know you guys weren't exactly the same years, but what do you remember about Bryce playing, and does that make it more exciting to be able to play with him?
I mean, shoot, the first thing I remember about Bryce is he whooped us his senior year on national television by 45 points. Um, but man, I always saw him growing up. He was that dude in eighth grade on the IE Ducks. He went to Cathedral. Was a guy transferred to Mater Dei. Finished the number one quarterback, number one player in the country in 2020. I mean, and he won the Heisman in college. I mean, he's literally been the best player at each level of the game. And I've always wanted to be. I've always wanted to be a part of something like that. And I'm just fortunate, that he sat on the table for me, and that I'm able to play with him, and man, like I said, that connection is gonna be something special.
And then can you take us through your apparel tonight? I know that Polynesian culture means a lot to you. Can you explain
Yeah.
why you're wearing what you're wearing?
So as far as just the lay.
Well, that for sure, but you can go through the rest of the fit too.
Oh yeah, don't mind the color. I know I got the wrong colors on, but I'm wearing purple. It's my favorite color. It represents royalty. Then I got some gold chains, black turtleneck. Wearing some Travis Scotts because I'm a Jordan athlete. And then shout out to my grandma for making these lays, man. Everybody in the green room had it on, so we did something that's never been done. We put the lay on the commissioner, so hopefully we can start a new trend.
Thanks, man.
Hey, T-Mac, Steve Reed from the Associated Press. First of all, welcome to Carolina and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Hey, tell me, can I follow up a little bit on the relationship with Bryce? So have you guys have you met, or is it just kind of you know him from a close distance, or have you guys talked? And tell me a little bit about that relationship, if you can. I just got a quick follow up after that.
Oh yeah, we kind of just, like I said, we played against each other in high school, so we kind of just knew of each other, recognized our each other's talents. But I had recently, actually, I was fortunate enough to recently meet him probably about a month ago for the first time at 3D QB in Cali, and I was fortunate enough to it was my first time ever catching the ball from him and running routes for him. So I guess you can say we got a head start on our little chemistry.
That's good. And as a receiver, what do you feel like you bring to the Panthers?
Oh man, I think I bring a lot. I feel like I'm a reliable receiver, one that can play inside and outside whatever they may need me. Um, and but also outside the field, I feel like I'm gonna bring a good energy to the locker room. I feel like I'm gonna build that camaraderie, that relationship with not only Bryce but the other receivers in the room, as well as Coach Moore. And I have faith in Coach Moore and his coaching, that he's gonna get me to that next level. And at the end of the day, we chasing greatness, so that's the plan.
All right, and we will go to Mike Solarte, followed by Joe, and then throw it over to David Newton.
Great State T-Mac, welcome to Carolina. Mike Solarte with Spectrum News 1. You touched on it a little bit earlier about the wide receiver group. Can you kind of offer up some thoughts on being able to work with a guy like Adam Thielen, who's seen it all and pretty much done it all? I mean, could you have found a better mentor for your first year?
I mean, yeah, that's a blessing for me in my position. You know, obviously having Adam Thielen, you know, he's a seasoned vet. He's been in the league for a little while, so you know, he's pretty much seen the ins and out of this league, and just me being able to come in and just uh, basically, you know, him to take me under his wing, and you know, although you know I got drafted 8th overall, I'm coming into the facility with an open mind. You know, at the end of the day, I'm ready to be as great as possible. I'm willing to do whatever it takes for this team to be as good as it needs to be. And you know, I'm all ears and open minded to the wisdom and the knowledge that anybody has to give me.
And just as a follow-up to that, what do fans not know about your game that you're ready to put out there in front of them?
Oh, my game, shoot, man, my versatility. um, you know, I know we got a few other receivers in the receiver room, and I feel like our receiver room is going to be incredible. So, you know, I'm willing to play wherever, whether it's X, F, Z. And I feel like we're going to put that on nose as far as my versatility goes.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Hey, T-Mac, welcome with The Athletic. Could you expand a little bit on what you said earlier about Bryce standing on the table for you?
So yeah, he just told me at 3D QB, you know, that he's been, you know, sitting on the table for me, you know, going into the Mr. Morgan's office, going into Coach Canales' office, and really just sitting on the table for me and telling him, hey man, we need to pick this guy. And so you know, I give although, you know, I feel like I did what I needed to do to be in the position. I gave credit to Bryce for, you know, vouching for me, and ultimately, you know, for them taking the chance on me.
How big a deal is that? I mean, it sounds like you guys were this. Did you say you were the same year in high school?
No, he's 2 years older than me.
Okay, sorry about that. But you guys are both young guys. I mean, how about the opportunity to kind of grow with him as he takes the next step, as you take the first steps in your career?
I mean, it's a blessing for me knowing that I have a young quarterback to grow with throughout in the league, and just being able to have a quarterback that's reliable, being able to have a quarterback that trusts in me. And I know he's solid people's. When I met him, you know, he's a good kid, man. You know, it's definitely someone I look up to growing up. So being able to finally be on his team, and fortunate enough to catch his passes. I mean, I feel like sky's the limit for both of us in this offense.
Thanks very much.
Appreciate it.
Hey, T-Mac, David Newton, ESPN.com. So what do you remember about Bryce's game and that 5-point loss?
Oh, man. I mean, first of all, his team was the best, well, the second best team in the country that year. They lost to St. John Bosco. But in my eyes, he was he was the best player in the country, and to everybody else's eyes. But man, he was just really good. He knew how to get his teammates involved. He was super patient in the pocket. He threw a pretty ball. And you know, he has swag on that field. You know, you can tell he's confident, but also, you know, calm, collected. And I feel like that's kind of a reflection of my game as well. You know, I feel like we both kind of the moment's not too high, too low for us, and I feel like we'll complement each other really good.
And having said that, have you followed his career the last couple of years, and how surprised are you that he struggled so much those first couple of years?
I mean, yeah, like I said earlier, he's been the best player at every level, and you know, obviously these past couple of years, you know, he struggled a little bit, and I was surprised. You know, he one of the best players I've ever seen in my life, and you know, like I said to somebody else earlier, just towards the end of the season, you know, you saw a glimpse of his greatness, and you know, it looked like he finally got his swagger back, finally got his confidence back, and that's a huge testament to, you know, Andy Dalton just kind of bringing him along, and man, I feel like this is the year where, you know, Bryce will explode, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
I think you're the second T-Mac for this team. They had one in 1995, way before you were born. That was called Tim McKyer. So,
oh wow.
Anyway, thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. I appreciate it, man.
All right, we will go over to Vashti, and we have time for a couple more. So if you have any other questions, please raise your hand.
Hi, T-Mac. Vashti Hurd with Carolina Blitz. Welcome to Carolina.
Thank you.
I wanted to, just for clarification, you said you want to be called T-Mac, and then you had another name. Can you say that again?
Oh yeah, my name right here on my chain, Nalo.
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 Can you tell us
Nalo.
tell us what that means, the background behind it, please?
So it's kind of a nickname that my friends gave me, being from Waimanalo, Hawaii, on the east side of Oahu. And, I kind of just, like I said, they gave me the nickname, and I kind of turned it to my own brand. Obviously, I got it on my chain. I have it on my T-shirts, and basically, just kind of wanted to make it my brand, and that's what it is.
Thank you. So T-Mac or Nalo?
Hey, that's it. There you go.
All right. Also, I wanted to know about your, I know you had a visit here in Charlotte. Just tell us the vibes that you got from Dave Canales and how you guys meshed personality-wise. He said you were a good fit personality-wise for this team. Why do you think that is?
I mean, first things first, he's a Cali dude. So, that's immediate chemistry. He looks like he felt like a good just father, good husband, somebody that, I would potentially want to be around. And, I'm finally fortunate enough to actually be around him. So, but that facility, they gave me nothing but good energy, good vibes, cool peoples. Definitely people that I can mesh with. So I'm just looking forward to coming to Charlotte tomorrow and seeing everybody.
Thanks.
All right, and we will wrap with Scott Fowler.
Hi, T-Mac. Congratulations with the local paper here, the Charlotte Observer. I wonder if there are any wide receivers in the NFL you would currently compare yourself to, or, guys that you've emulated, idols in the position, people that you want to be like.
First things first, my favorite football player ever is Larry Fitzgerald. And then two receivers that, I watch and, I feel like I can emulate and similar play styles is Mike Evans and Keenan Allen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Man, I hope he does pan out to be those guys he mentioned. He mentioned Keenan Allen. I got to give him a shout out because Keenan Allen is from my neck of the woods. He's 336's own Keenan Allen. Larry Fitzgerald, a guy I grew up watching. I hope he pans out to be that way. Looks like he's going to be a really good player. I'm excited to see him. So yeah. But the draft, man, a special time for a lot of families. Daniel Stein was at Bank of America Stadium. Guys, I know I said I was going to pop up at Bank of America Stadium.
Yeah, where were you? You said you were going to be there. You said you were going to get credentialed. You're going to find your way in there.
I decided, I said, look, no, let me not make it about myself. I would have loved to be there, but I said, no, I think they got it. I think she has it.
She's got it covered.
Danielle's awesome. She had it. So I was like, all right, let her, I'll watch it from home. But Danielle was at Bank of America Stadium talking with Nick Carboni last night on our draft special at Bank of America Stadium. Let's listen into that conversation.
We're going to go back out to Bank of America Stadium now, where our Danielle Stein is standing by. Danielle, what was the reaction amongst the media members and in the building when the pick came in and it was Tator McMillan, a wide receiver?
Yeah, Nick, I was just listening to you as you were processing that as well. And I think a lot of people above me at this media event right now have felt similarly. They were not expecting necessarily this is exactly where it would have been landing, especially after those reports from Adam Schefter were coming out just a little bit before that they were fielding some calls from other teams. And it seems that when they didn't get a trade partner for that number 8 overall pick, maybe that's not exactly what was being expected. But like Dan Morgan said, I think it's something we can now look back to more specifically, that they were going to look for the best possible player, not specifically on any position. So I think making a pick at a wide receiver like this is pretty indicative of that they were just looking for the best fit that they could find for their team itself.
Yeah, so I know you're new to this team, and the first thing you learned was historically bad defense. But you also, you watched the NFL enough and did before you got here to know that Bryce Young came along at the back half of the season. So I guess what I'm saying is, as Panthers fans talk themselves into this, if they need to be talked into it, because many of them did want Tet McMillan, I guess help for Bryce Young can't be a bad thing.
Of course not. And this is a guy who ranked 3rd last year in receiving yards in the NFL. He was a first-team All-American, so it's not like they're, just scraping the bottom of the barrel by any means. This is the top receiver in the draft by far and away. So they're getting a really good player that's going to complement Leggett as well. And like they were saying, yes, they do want to be bolstering that offense. They're of course going to be looking for a lot of defensive help as well, but that doesn't mean that their offense is complete by any stretch. So I think more additions, more weapons for Bryce is going to be helpful.
Danielle, you told us the reaction when the pick was Tet McMillan. What was the reaction for the Browns-Jaguars trade? And then I'm sure when Mason Brown went off the board to the Browns, there was chatter in there about what that meant for the Panthers.
Yeah, everyone thought when Mason Brown was off, it was almost going to be clear that it was going to be Jalen Walker, that once that pick was made, it seemed like they had their guy. So I think that's where a lot of the thinking from the media here was really looking. But yeah, that initial trade when the Browns decided to trade back and the Jags to come up, they thought really that the Jags were being pretty aggressive in this type of a move. And it showed that they were really interested in Travis Hunter, because we knew if anyone was moving up into that number 2 spot, it was to be getting their guy. And for Travis to be going back to Florida, back to the area that he grew up in. He went to high school not too far away from Jacksonville as well, down in Georgia. So it's pretty cool for him to land back there as well.
All right, Danielle Stein from Bank of America Stadium. We'll let you go because I know GM Dan Morgan and head coach Dave Canales are set to speak if they are not already. So I'll let you go try and listen to as much of that as you can, and we will speak to you later, especially on WCNC Charlotte tonight. You'll have live reports, and we will hear from Tet McMillan. Thank you, Danielle.
I just want to give a shout out to our team. We did an awesome job on this draft special. A lot of work went into it. Again, I had my phone in one hand, I had the TV on, and so I was going back and forth, and so I caught a good chunk of that special, and they did a great job. We'll have more on the draft a little bit later, but before we get back to the draft, I want to get to a pretty cool initiative here in Charlotte. This is an organization that is about building the next generation of young black leaders, cultivating those leaders. I'm talking about the Young Black Leadership Alliance. And they have a special event happening tomorrow, Carlene. So let's bring them on. This is John and Tammy Martin, the founders of YBLA, Young Black Leadership Alliance. Thank you guys for taking the time to be on the street.
Awesome. Yeah. Hello, Nick. Are you there? Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm still here. So, you guys got me?
Yeah,
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's John and Tammy Martin, founders of YBLA. So before we get into tomorrow night's event, can you talk a little bit about the work you guys do? I was looking at the resume and what you guys have accomplished, what you're doing, and I'm like, how do you find time to do all of this work?
That's a good question. That is a good question. But thank you. First of all, thank you for having us on here. We are so excited to be on here to talk about our young people and the things that we're doing in YBLA. Basically, our mission is to build young Black leaders to make a positive impact in our communities. We have been doing this for 19 years. Can't believe it's been that long. And we have had such a amazing journey and ride to watch our young people develop as we take them through the different phases of our program.
Yeah, so Nick, the cool thing is the program works with high school, college, and young professionals. Mm-hmm. So this idea of developing leaders across the leadership pipeline is something that we're super excited about. Some of our leaders, we work with them basically over 10, 15, 20 years, which is amazing part of the work that we do. And our whole goal is, as Tammy mentioned, is really how do we make the world a better place through leadership? So for us, we want to be the best leadership program on the planet. And we want to develop leaders that can literally impact the world.
And we're also in 2 locations. We're based in Charlotte, in Atlanta right now, but our goal is to expand YBLA and build more leaders across the globe.
Yeah.
What's the best part about doing this work? I know, you know, the kids, man, they grow so fast. It's just like 1 minute they're here, and then and not just physically grow, but mentally and throughout their journey in school and as they become young adults. But what's the best part about this work that you guys do?
Wow.
I mean, I think it's really just watching light bulbs come on and then watching them grow across those light bulbs. I mean, it's just amazing like we'll have, so one of the things we do is we do service abroad. So we take all of our young people to Belize or on different trips, and then just watching them in an environment where they actually get to learn, feel, and just experience the world that they're in. It's just amazing. So we really enjoy that part, and that's really just growth in us. It actually allows us to do things that we love as well.
I think my favorite part is just seeing them go through success. You know, they come in one way and then they leave us like their eyes are open, and they have more confidence and they're ready for the world. And that's always exciting to see the growth when they matriculate through our program.
Absolutely.
What have you learned so far from these young people? What do you continue to learn from these young people?
I think for me, success is a journey, right? It's like one of those things where, a lot of organizations like to work with young people for 6 months or a year, and they need much more than that. You have to be with them during the transition points. Now, I know, Nick, you probably remember when you graduated from high school and went on to that next level, how different that was. And then when you went from that next level, if it was college, into your professional careers, how different that was. And that different level of support is needed. And these young people are different. Like when we first started 19 years ago, they are completely different than they are today. And we learned that it's not a static thing that we provide to them in terms of our leadership development for them. It's really something that's ever evolving with the young people that we work with.
And Nick, one of the things that I have learned through them is they love to serve.
That's right, yeah.
Love to serve. I remember when our daughter was in it and we took them on our first mission trip to Haiti. I was so worried that these girls would think I'm gonna break a nail or I'm gonna be in this hot sun, but it was nothing like that. They absolutely love to serve. They ask for more service opportunities. So that always makes us feel good that it's already in their heart to want the community to be better and to use their gifts and talents to make the world better.
Now, I think as adults, one of the things that we have to do is give them the environment. Well, I like to say the playground, but not make it so easy that they're always going to succeed. They need to know how to fail.
Right.
But then our job is to get out the way, to be the bumpers, like the lanes, like in a bowling alley, to be the bumpers that they can kind of go back in between from. And that's the work that we do. We really want them to lead. Our whole objective, the best way to learn how to lead is to lead.
Correct.
You were just talking about football. I heard that segment. You don't learn how to catch a ball from PowerPoint slides.
That's right.
You don't learn how to block, in a classroom. You don't learn how to lead from someone standing in front of you telling you how to lead. You learn how to lead by going out on service trips or going out and leading in your community or in your school. That's the best way to figure this thing out. And that's where a lot of things fall short, and that's where we excel.
I mean, that's why I love this organization, because I think back to like growing up. I'm from High Point, and so myself, along with a lot of my friends, we didn't necessarily have that guidance. Either you figured it out or you didn't. And it's not like our parents were not trying to give us that guidance, but my mom worked full time and she went back to school, so like there wasn't a lot of time in what you guys are doing, which I think is special. And this is not really a question, but it's just. You're helping these young folks every step of the way, and not leaving them in the dark to figure it out by themselves.
Yeah,
Right.
I think the cool thing, Nick, I bet you probably remember, with you and your friends, there was that one guy or three guys in your school that you looked up to, and you said, "Oh, I want to be like that guy," or "I want to dress like that. I want to make those moves on the court, or I want to do this." And
Or the one that was voted most likely to achieve.
yeah.
And that person's going to be good.
That's what we want to create, right? You want to put in front of them people like yourself, right? That are doing great things and that can inspire them to do great things in their lives. And they don't see enough of that, but there's a lot of negativity in the world right now. And our job is to put successful leaders in front of them of all different kinds and help them see what success looks like. But more importantly, what significance look like. And significance for us is really beyond success. Success is taking care of your family. Significance is really about being able to uplift the people around you.
Right.
Let's talk about it. The Legacy Builders Gala that's happening Saturday night. So I know y'all gonna look nice. Y'all gonna look sharp out there. Can you talk about it? So I want to let everybody know it's tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. at the UNC Charlotte Marriott Hotel and Conference Center. Can you talk to us about the goal, the fundraising goal, and about this gala itself?
Yeah, well, I'll talk about the experience. So we always like to create an experience where our guests get to come in, not only just meet our young people, but learn the impact that they have gained through our organization.
Yeah.
So when you come in, you're going to be greeted by one of our young people. They're going to escort you in. They're going to take you into this room where you can meet other leaders, and they're going to share what they have done, the impact they've done, how they have grown in the program. So guests will get an opportunity to speak with some of our leaders one-on-one. We will have the whole pipeline there from our high schoolers to our college to our young professionals. So people will get an opportunity to see the whole pipeline. And once you go through the experience room, then you have an opportunity to get a drink and network with other people there, and then come into the ballroom. So one thing that we pride ourselves on is we allow our young people to lead our events. So you're going to see our young professionals that's going to be the host of the gala. So they're going to host us through the whole evening. You're going to get an opportunity to meet. We have a couple of videos that you get to see the impact that our young leaders are doing. So whenever you leave our gala, you're going to leave feeling inspired.
Right.
And know that the future is in better hands because of what the work they are doing.
Yep. So to answer your other question, our goal is $220,000. So we're on track for that, but probably at 100 and some change at this point. So we got some more work to do. If you can't join, feel free to go to our site and make a contribution. It's really going to help us develop more leaders and make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It looks like tickets. I'm on the website right now. Tickets are still available, right?
Yeah. So we're actually sold out. So we just sold the last set of tickets right before we got on. But again, people can make a donation right there and support us. The great thing is, we've had really good turnout this year, even in the midst of all the economy and everything else.
Right.
Would love to have folks just come and support us.
Mm-hmm.
John and Tammy.
Follow us too. We want folks to follow us on our social media because then you get to see all the great things our young people are doing.
Yep.
At YBLA Leadership, that's our Facebook and our Instagram handles.
John and Tammy Martin, founders of YBLA. I just want to say before I let you go, thank you for the work you're doing here and in Atlanta. It's important work. And I hope you guys I know you guys will hit your fundraising goal for the gala, but I just want to say thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you for the work you do as well. Thank you.
Of course. Again, thank you for stopping by the stream. That is John and Tammy Martin, founders of YBLA. They're doing some great work over there. If you're not unfamiliar with what they do, go over there, check them out on their Instagram page, social media pages, their website. Great work there. All right, so if you were commuting to work, it was foggy, it was a little rainy, it was a little cloudy. So we want to break down. We want to give you the forecast. Here's meteorologist Brittany Van Voorhees with a look at our weather for today and what you probably guys saw this morning during that commute.
This morning, we're still tracking areas of fog, but improvement still happening. But if you look at our Dallas Tower Cam, again, you can see the high mid-level clouds on top. That's low cloud cover on the bottom. That is the fog. Very clear the difference between the two. Of course, when we talk about how much fog there is, this has gone in and out so far this morning. In fact, you can see more developing from where we just looked about 15 or so minutes ago. Official sensor in Gastonia coming in at around 3 miles. Of course, that is in Dallas, so it's not necessarily at the same spot as our sensor, but still pretty dense fog for Rutherfordton, that is, Morganton, Hickory, and Shelby, all at or below 1 mile. Still pretty significant fog, too, down south in Lancaster and Chesterfield County, but again, starting to see some slight improvement there. Light rain still developing across northern parts there of Iredell County, but it's really this rain that I'm turning my attention to. On the western side of Cleveland County, some light to moderate showers there. Light rain as well for western York County, and then a few little sprinkles there in Gaston County as well as Mecklenburg County. This swath swath of rain is heading our way. It is losing again some of its steam as it moves in, but if I'm in central portions of Cleveland County, western Lincoln, or Gastonia, I'm preparing to see rain within the next 15 to 30 minutes. Light rain for the most part, but some moderate pockets are possible. Later on this afternoon, a few breaks in the clouds as well as some sunshine mixing in. This should allow for our temperatures to soar to the upper 70s, a few spots near 80 degrees. But actually our best chance for rain and storms in Charlotte today is this evening and into the overnight hours. Here's 9 p.m. You can see a few more areas of rain by midnight, and then notice as we approach 3 o'clock, still areas of rain lingering across the Piedmont. So your best chance of rain and storms actually when most of us are asleep, tucked into bed, hopefully nice and cozy. By the second half of Saturday morning, rain clears out, and then we'll be tracking a cold front moving through the region. This will prompt a secondary round of at least a few spotty storms between about 2 and 4 o'clock, but after that we are good to go. So still expecting kickoff for Charlotte FC to be nice and dry. So about a 30% chance of an isolated thunderstorm tomorrow, still warm and muggy with temperatures in the mid 80s. Drier air mixes in on Sunday with lows in the 50s and high temperatures in the 70s. Now the general rule of thumb coming up here over the next few weeks is going to be warmer than normal. I think Sunday was probably the only day that we'll see, not only this weekend, but this week where temperatures are exactly where they should be, if not a little bit warmer over the next few days. So look at your Guy Roofing 7-day forecast. Again, it's kind of a roller coaster rise. It typically is this time of year. Upper 70s near 80 today, areas of rain, a few more storms tomorrow. And then again, Sunday, probably our only day where high temperatures are at above average as we're soaring back to near 90 degrees by the middle part of next week. One thing I will say too is that Sunday morning, Monday morning, and even Tuesday morning will feel fantastic for the first half of the day. Look at those low temperatures dropping back into the 50s. Yeah, it's where we should be this time of year, but the warmth, the humidity has been so dominant over the past few weeks.
And that was Britt's forecast, what you can expect today and throughout the weekend and over the next 7 days. So yeah, we talked about a lot of exciting things as far as the NFL draft, but also today.
It's opening day.
It's opening day for the Gastonia Ghost Peppers. First season under the new name.
Yep.
I know we did the stories on with the name that the team would select, and I felt like we were a part of that process. They have the name, the Ghost Peppers. They selected it months ago. A cool name. I think it fits that team.
You like the name. I like the name.
Yeah.
It makes good merch.
Makes good merch, and I think a lot of folks are excited for the start of the season. This is a look at Caramount Health Ballpark in Gastonia, where that field looks good for opening day.
It looks good.
It looks good, and the sun is out.
You haven't been there.
I haven't been there.
I've been there.
I've seen this field via this camera. Snow, sun, rain.
It's seen a lot of conditions.
Yeah, but it looks great right there. Ideal conditions, for a good opening day. Not too hot.
No.
So you can, spend the day out there at the ballpark. So ahead of opening day, I got a chance to speak with the manager, our guy, Mauro Goose Gazzo, before opening day. And here's our interview. Let's listen in. Carlene knows I get excited when we have guests in the studio. I love having a guest in the studio, especially because it's a big weekend. We're talking about opening weekend for the Gastonia Ghost Peppers. First year under the new name. And, of course, we had to bring in the guy, our guy, Mauro Goose Gazzo. Thank you for joining us.
It's great to be here. Thanks, Nick.
How exciting is this weekend? You're talking about opening day, man. That is what?
Well, after about a month off of last season, you go right back to, picking your squad and trying to recruit players and telling them all about Gastonia, telling them all about how good of a team we have and how many players we've gotten picked up in the last couple of years. And hopefully they choose you. And it's all for this day, right? It's all for tomorrow. It's all for the very first day to see what kind of club we put together. We have our last practice today at 4 o'clock, very light practice, and then it counts tomorrow, opening day.
Do you ever get when opening day comes around? Do you ever get those jitters, those butterflies in your stomach? What is that feeling?
When I was a young player, I would say absolutely for sure. I mean, obviously I'll care and I'll have some jitters, if you will. But you're talking about a 126 game season.
Yeah.
You can't put it all on just one game. It's not a do or die. It's going to probably take a couple weeks, a couple times through the rotation to kind of just evaluate your squad. See where you're at, see where your strengths and weaknesses are at. Obviously, doing some comparisons to some other teams and their rosters. Because our main goal is to get into the playoffs and to bring a championship home to Gastonia.
What is a home game like for you guys? I haven't been to the game yet. I came from the Raleigh-Durham area, so I went to a few Bulls games there. So I haven't been able to make it out to the games yet. I promise you I'm going to make it out there, man. But what is that atmosphere like?
It's a great atmosphere. It's a small bowl kind of stadium with a lot of standing room. There's not a bad seat or a bad place to stand in the whole ballpark. A lot of excitement. A lot of guys running the bases. We have a very short left field porch, a left field fence, big gap in right center field. So there's always a lot of action. Obviously, we don't like too much action on the other team, but as far as we're concerned, our guys like hitting it over the fence and hitting it in the gaps. And we're a pretty quick team. We want to steal some bases and stuff. So it's an exciting brand and a really good atmosphere around the stadium.
How are the guys embracing the new name?
They like it. There's 2 or 3 of them that have been with us for the last 2 or 3 years, so they've worn the same body uniforms as I have, about 12 different uniforms that we've had there in Gastonia. We did 9 what-if nights last year, plus the Gastonia Baseball Club, and Ghost Peppers won it, and we're very pleased with it. The uniforms look sharp. The mascot, we showcased him earlier today.
I'm disappointed the mascot didn't show up.
Taking a little break. Pepe ran out of a little juice right now, so we got to save it for tomorrow night.
Expectations this year. I hate to ask that, for a coach or manager, expectations for your team, but realistically, what expectations do you have?
So our expectation every year, just like I tell the guys first day of spring training, is we're here to win and play to win every game and try to make the playoffs. Playoffs are our number one goal. We've done it for the last 3 years. We plan on trying to be there in the thick of it. Obviously, we've got a good rival right down the street, another North Carolina team in High Point.
My hometown, by the way.
What's that?
My hometown, by the way.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I won't hold that against you, Nick. No, it's a rival. It's definitely, they always have a good club. We seem to, have a pretty good club always too. So those games really matter, whether you're playing them in the beginning of the year, middle of the year, or at the end of the year. I think the difference between the two teams in the first and second half have only been a couple games over the course of the last 3 years. So every inning, every game matters. But our expectation is to try to win the playoffs, try to get to the playoffs, to try to win a championship.
Well, my last question before I get you out of here, the community, Gastonia, it's home for you. I mean, what does that community mean to you personally?
Well, I was the very first manager that's ever managed a team there. I was the very first, in 21 when we became a team. I've been there since. So I feel like I've built it. Obviously, we've brought really good people on. Our general manager, Brady Salisbury, is super with recruiting the guys and stuff. And we work really well together to put a good product on the field. There's people that have embraced it, in the city of Gastonia, but it definitely has room to expand, as far as more, more fans and more activity and stuff. But talking to the front office people, we're on a good trend right now. Tomorrow night's game is almost sold out. There is some seats available, which that's a very good sign. People really took to the new name, and earlier in the year I came for name recognition and meet the manager today, and there was a lot of energy. So nice. The city seems to be embracing it. Obviously, the town is doing a great job for us. The city council and all that, they're fighting for us, and they're doing a great job for us too as well. But just like to invite anybody from the whole area to just come. It's a great brand of baseball. We've got like 11 players on our team that have played Major League Baseball already.
Wow.
So as far as the brand of baseball, it's a very high brand.
Wow, you're going to get some good baseball action if you head out there to the stadium. Like, you heard it there. Tickets are almost sold out. Yeah. And, one thing I want to add, Gastonia, every time I go to Gastonia, it feels like home. Like, I'm from High Point, as I mentioned earlier. It feels like High Point. I know it's a rival, but look, man, those two cities I guess there's a reason it's a rivalry. Those cities are alike.
Yeah, I mean, we're the only two teams in the league. We're the only two teams in the league that are from North Carolina. There's a couple teams in Maryland, a couple teams in Pennsylvania, a couple teams in New York. I mean, so we're proud to be the southernmost team in the league. Obviously, we kind of like the weather. I mean, so the northern teams want to come down and play here this time of year, and all that stuff. But yeah, Gastonia, I've always felt like home in Gastonia. I mean, the people have been super to me and my family, and the few spots that we know of, and whether it's eateries or pubs or whatever, they treat us very well. But it's just good, wholesome, down-to-earth people.
Man, yeah. Hey, Gastonia Ghost Peppers. Season starts this weekend. I can't wait. I can't wait to go check out a game this year. That's Mauro Goose Gazzo. And that was my interview with Mauro Goose Gazzo. So, okay, look, you have ample opportunity to go and see a game. This is a live look at Caramount Health Ballpark in Gastonia, where the Ghost Peppers will be playing. They play the York Revolution tonight at 7, Saturday night at 7, Sunday at 4 p.m. Tickets, it looks like they're still available. Also, I don't know. Now I'm torn. They have a doubleheader on Monday against the High Point Rockers.
Oh no!
Home
what
games.
You gonna do?
I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm conflicted.
You're gonna be torn.
I'm torn.
Who are you gonna cheer for?
I don't know. Look, I have to stay loyal to the soil.
Yeah.
And I'm going with the Rockers.
Okay.
But,
yeah,
look,
I understand that.
Look,
if the River Dogs came to town or something like that, the Charleston River Dogs,
there you go.
You
gotta support your home team.
I gotta support my home team.
But I do like the jerseys, though.
Check these out.
These are pretty sweet.
Not sponsored, by the way. We're just fans of the merch.
We're fans.
We're just fans.
This is where Carlene and I, we bond on wrestling. We bond on merch. We bond on sneakers. We bond on a lot of things. That jersey that's a sweet
nice
jersey. That's a nice jersey. The ghost
logo.
You see the ghost pepper with the bat. Man,
it's solid.
I like the black jerseys.
I like that black one too. Let me pull that up.
But I'm more of a like, even with sneakers, I like more white-based sneakers versus like a majority black sneaker.
Yeah, me too.
But I like that black jersey. That black jersey is nice.
If it'll cooperate.
There you go. There you go. That I don't know. I think I like the black
hot.
jersey better than the white jersey. I think both jerseys are great, but I have to choose one.
I prefer white shoes, but I prefer black.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. Okay, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
That jersey is sweet. And look, you can get the jersey online or just go to the game.
Just go to the game.
Go to the game. You have ample opportunity this weekend. Tonight, opening night, 7 p.m. Tomorrow, 7 p.m. and Sunday at 4 p.m. The Ghost Peppers. They take on York Revolution. They're making that long trip from Pennsylvania. Long trip to Pennsylvania. All right, so we want to continue in the theme of sports, and we want to talk about the draft. So last night we had a great special inside the Live Impact studio as we broke down the picks. My favorite moment from the stream was Nick's reaction when the Panthers took Ted McMillan. He was like, wait, Jeb, are you saying that?
Are you serious?
And I think it was just they caught us off guard. We knew he was a guy of interest, but we didn't know that we would take him.
Yeah.
We didn't know. So, Nick was joined. He had Jeb here. He had the folks with Locked On. Nick had a really interesting conversation with Julian Council with Locked On Sports here inside the Live Impact studio last night during the NFL Draft Special. Let's get to that interview. Let's listen in.
but now I want to turn to the guy who kind of tipped off the pick to me when he screamed from our conference room. When that happened, I pretty much knew it was Tator McMillan because it sounded like you were surprised, Julian, or it was enough of a stunning moment for people to probably do that all across the Carolinas tonight.
Yeah, I know we talked about earlier what we were expecting from this draft, and I thought they were going to go defense, whether it was going to be an edge rusher or a defensive tackle at 8, and obviously Jacksonville really shocked everybody. But I'm surprised by this pick. I did not expect Tator McMillan to be the pick for Carolina here at 8. I had thought, again, edge rusher was probably what they should have been going after. And I also thought they were trying to trade back. And that was pretty clear because we had seen a lot of these picks, they were coming in pretty quickly. And then we had that little pause of, all right, what's Carolina trying to do? Adam Schefter's reporting that they're having phone calls. Then Ashton Jeanty goes off the board. And Albert Breer is talking about how that's going to impact their ability to get out of the 8 pick. So it did feel like at the end that they were stuck. And they decided the guy that they wanted was a big-bodied receiver to help out their quarterback who turned it around in the final 9 weeks of the season. So I don't think you can be, if you're a Panther fan, I don't know if you can be upset about the fact that they want to invest in Bryce Young in what is going to be a critical year 3 for him this fall.
Let me hit you with this piece of business. Colston Loveland just went to the Bears. He goes off the board before Ty Warren.
Okay. So we do get a tight end who goes in the top 10.
Yeah,
right.
Okay. Okay, so do you feel like this was the situation Dan Morgan indicated could happen?
Yeah.
And maybe he would have liked that word stuck back, but it feels like that's what happened.
Yeah, I wonder if they just didn't like the proposals they were getting because Kelvin Banks Jr. went 9th overall right behind him to New Orleans, and he's going to be probably a long-term franchise left tackle, right tackle, whatever they're going to have him play there in NOLA. So I thought that would be an opportunity for them going into this draft. I talked about it on my show this morning that I looked at 2 entities to be holding the keys for Carolina potentially trading out of the 8th pick. I thought it was the Jacksonville Jaguars at 5 and an Ashton Jeanty. And immediately we saw Jacksonville trade up to number 2 to take Travis Hunter, so they impacted it there. And then at 5, we saw the Browns who moved back there. They did not. They ended up taking Mason Graham, who could have been a player that Carolina could have taken potentially at 8. But then we saw right behind them the Raiders take Jeanty. So both of those are off the board, and that would have impacted Carolina's ability. Because if Jeanty falls all the way back to 8, I then think there's a team that's desperate enough to get up there. I do wonder, like Houston, that's a team that reportedly is looking for tackles. They're drafting 25th overall. I didn't think Dan Morgan wanted to go back any further than maybe 13 or 14. Certainly not 25. So that may have been a team that wanted to get up there. Denver's a team that apparently is making calls. They're sitting at 28th overall. Again, they were below that threshold I thought that Carolina likely didn't want to go to. So I don't think it's not a due diligence in the moment of trying to get out of it. They just kind of were stuck to the point where it didn't make sense for them to where they probably would have been drafting later on in the first round to get out of that pick and not get the caliber of player that they were hoping to get. And I guess that caliber of player is clearly a Tator McMillan.
I loved mock drafts until this very minute. And I feel like every mock draft that I read or watched was just like, Jalen Walker. And like didn't consider other very realistic possibilities that could happen to the Carolina Panthers, one of which, and I'm still a little bit surprised it happened because of the defensive need and because of the need for an earlier second-round pick, that this is what happened. But just take out the draft and everything that goes into that and all those layers. Tator McMillan on the field with Bryce Young next year, what is kind of the expectation 20 minutes after finding out it would happen?
Well, I would think that it's going to be Ted McMillan, Adam Thielen, and Xavier Legette as the 3 that are going to be starting now. That's a big loss for Jalen Coker today as far as looking at this upcoming season. Maybe in 26 he can regain his starting spot. We'll see how it plays out, but you now have a red zone threat, and I thought that JT Sanders was becoming that until he injured his neck in that game against Kansas City in the first half and then was never the same to close out the season. Now you have that, a guy who aced contested catches. And you look at Travis Hunter, who went 2nd overall, go back, watch the film when Arizona went up against Colorado the last couple of years, and Ted McMillan was able to get his own in that game as well against one of the top corner, in my opinion, in this draft, and probably also the top wide receiver when you look at the combination of talent that Hunter has. So I think McMillan's going to come in, and he's going to be that red zone threat but we'll have to see whether he can separate. That's going to be the big question mark. I had wondered if Carolina would try to get a wide receiver one. I didn't see anyone in free agency who was available. And quite honestly, in this draft, looking at McMillan, who I thought was the best receiver, but then the draft cycle went on, and I think that kind of poisoned the well as far as how fans may have viewed him and viewing him right now at this point in time. Matthew Golden was a name. I thought maybe speed would have made more sense if they're going to go receiver and maybe get a Golden, but they got a guy who they think can maybe be that number one, but they already said Xavier Legette's going to be that. So are they going to have two? Two's better than none, so we'll certainly take that.
We'll see what the competition holds. Yeah. I mean, for Dan Morgan, a linebacker at heart still, to grit his teeth through those 17 games last year, watch that defense, and then go get a second straight first-round receiver. I'm not going to say that was hard for him to do because I think he truly likes the player.
Look at it this way, though, because they invested heavily defensively in March. They went out there, they got Bobby Brown III to be a run stopper. They brought in Turk Gordon to be an interior rush defender. They're going to look at Derek Brown as a free agency addition after not having him for 16 games last year. They brought in Pat Jones. Like, you look at it, they have Jadeveon Clowney coming back as a starting edge. They have DJ Wooning coming back as a starting edge. DJ Johnson, maybe there's something there. Jero Vera really liked him. So they have edge rushers that the staff likes, at least defensive staff. They really like those guys. So it's not necessarily that they had to get an edge rusher. I just look at the group and see no one who's a true difference maker at this point in time in their careers. And that's why I thought it would have made a lot of sense to go out there and do it. But if you look at just how maybe Jero Vera is going to see it, he already has a linebacker. They're pretty set there. Corner, they have their two guys. And let's not forget, they do like Shamar Bartholomew and a Caleb Evans. Yep. Evans, who started Week 18 game against Atlanta before getting injured. Safety, that's the spot where they need to get another starter. But, they're not taking a safety at 8. Had they taken Nick Eamon-Worry, that would have been truly surprising. You could have understood it. So if you just look at it, they already kind of have their starters. And whoever's going to go at 8 probably wasn't going to be a starter right away unless it was a safety. So I can understand this where, Ted McMillan clearly is going to come in and be a starter. Like Jalen Coker, as much as people and fans appreciate him, what he did last year was really good. He was undrafted. He was cut originally by this team. If you can make your team better, which is what they probably believe they're doing right now, why not do that instead of worrying about the undrafted free agent receiver from a year ago from Holy Cross?
What does this tell you, if anything, about how the Panthers feel about Leggett?
I don't think it says they don't like him. Yeah. I think it says they just want to add more to that room, and they're looking towards the future. They have to imagine that this is going to be the last year for Adam Thielen, whether it's in Carolina or in the league period. I probably think he's going to retire after this season. David Moore, who's their fourth receiver, he's probably not going to be back next year if I had to guess. So you needed to add another piece, and were you really going to completely depend upon your first-round pick from a year ago? And again, while having a really nice rookie season, I think a guy who can be a piece of the future in Jalen Coker, a former undrafted free agent at that spot. So it does make sense just looking ahead. And I was wondering, coming into this, what would be the surprise pick? Because last year, I don't think we expected a running back to go off the board in the second round for Carolina and Jonathan Brooks. I don't think we expected them to take Trevin Wallace, a linebacker. And here we are yet again where Dan Morgan and Dave Canales are surprising all of us by taking a position that you would not have seen as a priority position of need. Maybe tomorrow night would have been totally fine if they would have gotten a speedy kind of slot receiver. I would have understood that. I can understand this because you're investing in your quarterback, and Dan Morgan did say at the Combine back in February, while defense is a priority, they're not going to neglect the offense. And, this is exactly doing that. You're not neglecting the offense. You're investing in your quarterback, and that's a good thing. We'll just see whether it works out. They made the right pick.
All right, so moving forward, the Panthers are talking at the podium right now, so that's a sign they are done for the evening. So you're
I see Dan.
You're off the hook with that. We'll hear from them shortly. So now we turn to day 2 for the Carolina Panthers. Now, they didn't trade back tonight and get a pick earlier than 57, but that doesn't mean they can't do that tomorrow.
Yeah, I would love to see if they can move up earlier on the draft board there tomorrow night. And, edge would be what I'm looking at. This has been considered a deep edge class, and if that is is the case, then there probably shouldn't be a ton of consternation over them not taking an edge rusher tonight. And looking at it, I mean, Michael Williams just goes off the board. I think other than Abdul Carter, he's the second one to go off so far. Jalen Walker still sitting there. So Walker's not going to be available night 2. But there could be guys that they do like there on the second night. So I think that they should try to take. I also think safety, that makes a lot of sense, as well as, again, right now it's Trevon Merrick. It's potentially Demani Richardson. They need to add another true caliber starting safety in there. So I would think those would be the 2 spots certainly that they're really looking for. And other than, like, maybe they could do tight end, but I would think right now edge rusher, I feel like they need to add there, and safety, that is probably the glaring need at this point in time, just looking at things as they stand right now.
All right, Julian Council from Locked On Panthers. Man, I appreciate you sticking around tonight. What a night it has been. And you've already appeared on the Locked On NFL Scouting Show or live
I will
show?
be going on
You will
soon.
be on soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will release you and let you get to that.
And I'll be live on YouTube tonight on the Locked On Panthers YouTube channel.
Plenty of reaction, and I assume tomorrow as well.
And tomorrow night.
Okay.
I'm gonna be up for a wedding, but I'm gonna stay sober. It's a welcome party, so I won't have too many drinks. We'll be live again tomorrow night too.
Locked On Panthers, Julian Council, thanks for joining us.
Some great insight there from Julian Council and Nick Carboni. All right, we want to get now live to Illinois, where Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton is announcing her Senate campaign. She is marking the launch of her Senate bid with a campaign kickoff event right here on your screen, live in South Side of Chicago. Let's take a listen in. It just got underway.
His endorsement. Since the day he asked me to be his partner in governance, we've worked hand in hand to deliver real solutions for Illinois, and every day I feel so proud to work by his side, and that's the same fight that I'm going to bring to the Senate. Woo! And of course, I want to shout out some of the amazing people here to support me today, especially my family, to Brian and our girls. You all have been my rock throughout this journey, and I'm so grateful to have you by my side. And yes, and to all of you who took time out of your busy lives to be here with me today, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, it means more to me than you will ever know. Just one day after I launched my campaign, I can't think of a better place to be standing than right here on the south side of Chicago, the place where my story began, the place where a little girl, daughter to a public school teacher and a Navy veteran, grew up and learned to see the world through the eyes of public servants. It was here that I learned the value of community and the importance of caring for my neighbors. It was here that I raised my young family, doing my best to juggle everything life threw at us. And it was here that I cared for my mother, Velma, in the final years of her battle with Alzheimer's. Through the ups and downs, the joy and the heartbreak, the South Side has taught me so much about compassion, hard work, and community. And those values are embedded in my DNA, and I carry them with me wherever I go. And the love and support that I'm feeling in this moment reminds me exactly why I call this place home. You see, to me, the story of the South Side is a story about community. It's a story of resilience, of legacy, of hope. Long before any of us stood here, there were others who came looking in search of a better life for their families. They built communities, they built churches, they built foundations, and they fought to give future generations a better life than the lives they knew. That's the same story that I see when I look at each and every one of you. And that's the same fight that we are fighting still to this day. But that story isn't just unique to the South Side. It's a story that I see reflected in every corner of this great state. A story that I see reflected in every Illinoisan I meet. That's why yesterday, I launched my campaign for the United States Senate. Because Illinois needs a fighter. Illinois needs a fighter in Washington. And there's not another moment to waste. See, we're living through a 5-alarm fire, and our fight has never been more important than it is right now. Since taking office, Donald Trump and his unelected sidekick, Elon Musk, have put a stress test on almost every single aspect of American life, not with the goal of strengthening it, but to see if they can break it. Our schools, our courts, our government, our economy. They're pushing every single system to the breaking point. And that chaos, that constant state of crisis, well, it's reaching a fever pitch. Next Wednesday will mark 100 days since Donald Trump took office. 100 days since Donald Trump and Elon Musk started attacking everything we hold dear. 100 days since Donald Trump started tearing apart our country, piece by piece. The consequences are bearing out right before our eyes. Every day is filled with one bad headline after another, and all of this mess is by design. Their intention is distraction. They want us to feel so overwhelmed that we don't even know where to start. I've spoken to people all across our state who are scared. They're anxious, afraid of what might happen next. And Donald Trump is betting that we get so exhausted and worn out by the nonstop news that we'll stop asking questions. We'll stop holding them accountable. That he will get away with his broken promises. But while middle-class families are stuck facing the consequences of Trump's chaos, too many in Washington are refusing to fight back. They're using the same old playbook that they've always used, and it's not working. Illinoisans need leaders in Washington who understand their fears and frustrations, leaders who understand the struggles they're going through. I know what it's like to have the weight of the world on your shoulders. I know what it's like to feel like you're always treading water, just trying to stay afloat. And I know what it's like when you're doing everything right, but you still can't just seem to get ahead. I know those struggles because they've been my struggles too. So when people
And that shot just dropped off. But that is Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. She is announcing her Senate campaign. Now, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton marking the launch of the Senate campaign kickoff in the south side of Chicago. And she was raised in that area. And, this event represents for her a full circle moment as she celebrates the start of her campaign, where she grew up and where she now lives there in the south side of Chicago. Again, that shot went down. As soon as it pops back up, we'll try to get you back out there. All right, so we want to shift gears now back to the draft. A big night for a lot of folks. Look, we talked a lot about T-Mac. Ted McMillan, the new wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers, but we want to show some love for a hometown guy, Jalen Walker. Look, it looked like he was going to make his way to Carolina. It looked like Carolina was going to pick him, but they didn't. But the young man ended up in a great landing spot. He's going to the Atlanta Falcons. I wonder if he foreshadowed that pick because he had the red and white, the red and black suit on.
Yeah.
I mean, he's also a Georgia Bulldog, so
that's probably more like.
That's more like. But hey, look, I like the story that I'm going with right now. He knew. He knew. I'm happy for the young man. He seems like a great kid, great player there. Actually, Carlene, do we want to go to this interview, or do we want to go back to
Let's go to the interview.
Okay, well, yeah.
We teased it up. We've hyped it up.
We hyped it up. I'm
you
sorry.
Hyped it up.
Live
you
Impact
almost,
News.
You almost took it away from the people.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, folks. But yeah, Salisbury. He's from Salisbury, the Salisbury native, Jalen Walker, heading to the ATL, not far from the University of Georgia, so he doesn't have to go far. So our Logan Campbell spoke with Jalen Walker right after being drafted. Let's take a listen to the interview.
All right, guys, we are here with Jalen Walker, the newest Atlanta Falcon. Jalen, take us through that call. What was that moment like for you?
It's a blessing, most definitely a blessing. I waited my time, and I can't wait to be a Falcon. This is one of the biggest blessings that has ever happened to me. I can't imagine, and I can't wait to get to the program.
What were the emotions you were feeling just waiting for that call?
Yeah, I was a nerve wreck a little bit coming up here, but I mean, as soon as I seen the call and the number pop up, I knew what was going on, and it's just a great opportunity for me to get there. I'm lost for words. It's something I always dreamed of, and my dream just came true.
All right, you got to tell us. Who called you? What did they say?
Yeah, at first, talked with Terry, Jim, talked with Coach Morris, head coach, and then the owner, Arthur Bank. So it's just a blessing. They want me down there. They said they're sending a jet, and I'll be there tomorrow morning. So sounds good.
You're going back to Georgia.
I am going back to Georgia.
How are you feeling about that?
I feel great. It's like my second home. I still got my spot there in Athens. I played in the Benz Stadium. I've had my best games at the Benz Stadium. I can't wait to call that my home myself and play there every Sunday.
All right, Jalen, what is your message to all the Falcons fans out there?
Get ready. Yeah, it's going to be some change around here, and it's going to be for the better, most definitely. I can't wait to get down there.
All right, Jalen, thank you so much. Congratulations.
Rise up. There you go.
There we go. Congratulations, Jalen. We appreciate it. Atlanta's defense just got a little bit better, Nick.
It did. It did get a little bit better. I'm happy for him because I spent some time in Atlanta. I spent 2.5 years working in Atlanta. Great city. Look, that city is waiting for that football team to be good again. I remember when I first moved there, they still had Matt Ryan as their quarterback, so they still had a lot of promise. It didn't go as planned in my short time in Atlanta, but they won a winner, and those fans are great. They're great fans. They're supportive fans. They're kind of like the Panthers fans.
Yes.
Like, when things are great,
it's great.
It's great, but when things are bad, it's bad. But the fans are great there. The fans are great here. I'm happy for them, man. It's we heard from this family not too long ago this week. Danielle Stein interviewed them. So, it's a big moment for them. All right, so we want to get back out to south side of Chicago where Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton announces her Senate campaign. Let's listen in to that, her news conference happening right now live.
Illinois, I am ready to spend every day fighting for you in the Senate, and I couldn't be more proud to have you all by my side. Over the next coming weeks and months, I'll be working day and night to reach Illinoisans all across our state, and I won't take a single moment for granted. I know it won't be easy, but I am confident that with all of you on my team, we can do this. So let's get to work. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Great job. Thank you.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. That was, again, the Lieutenant Governor from Illinois, Juliana Stratton, announcing her Senate campaign, a full circle moment for her. She held this event in the south side of Chicago. That is where she's from. That's where she currently lives. So, again, a great a moment for her, a full circle moment for her as she announces her Senate campaign. What I was trying to say, a great moment last night for a lot of draft prospects, a lot of those guys, 32 guys that got selected last night in the first round of NFL draft. We had a great special here at the Live Impact studio. Nick Carboni, Danielle Stein, Locked On Sports, and also WCNC Charlotte's Jalen Gilkey. providing some perspective on the draft. He got a chance to speak with Nick, and they were reacting to the news of the Panthers pick. Let's listen into that interview.
All right, Jalen Gilkey. I mean, listen, I should have asked you what the fifth thing that would surprise you tonight was. So, Tet McMillan of the Panthers, your immediate thoughts.
Well, when we spoke earlier, I said I would be surprised if the Panthers guy, Jalen Walker, who we all thought was the Panthers guy, was still available at 8, if they would pick. Jalen Walker was available at 8, and he was not the pick. It's Teteroa T-Mac McMillan, a guy who dazzled during his 3 years at Arizona, one of the most electrifying players in college football, not due to his athleticism or speed, but just because of his playmaking ability, the way he's able to just go up and get the ball. I know you mentioned it already. Very much so a Mike Evans build type player, and if that's what Carolina's getting, then I'm sure GM Dan Morgan and head coach Dave Canales will be thrilled with that type of production, because we've seen firsthand for many of years how dangerous and deadly Mike Evans could be when he's in the lineup. So if T-Mac is able to even a very solid pick for the Carolina Panthers here to give Bryce Young another weapon to work with.
Yeah, so this is very interesting from a couple of standpoints, Jalen. Obviously, defense was a need, but this is a general manager who was a Pro Bowl linebacker and was probably gritting his teeth when he watched that defense for 17 games last year, and now he spends, for the second straight draft, a first-round pick on a wide receiver. So what do you think this says about the Panthers' belief in their current receiver room, and specifically last year's first-round pick, Xavier Legette?
You know, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked me this, because as soon as I saw that T-Mac was going to be the pick, my instant thought was, wow, it does not look like Dan Morgan and this Panthers front office, it does not look like they believe in Xavier Legette to be a viable option going forward as a wide receiver. You know, we still got Adam Thielen, who will most likely be the leading receiver, but he'll be in a more number 2 role, and then the rookie sensation who emerged last year, Jalen Coker, he'll probably take over as that primary number 1 target. Maybe they'll do a 1A, 1B type situation, but now it looks like Xavier Legette was going to be in that, you know, second to third row. Now he may be on the outside looking in, maybe reduced to a special teams role specifically, if he's going to be able to get on the field, because, you know, as we know, the Panthers come out a lot of 3 receiver sets. Not sure how much 4 receiver sets we'll see from this Carolina Panthers squad. So it's very interesting. It clearly looks like this organization is not 100% backing or feeling or agreeing with the decision last year to take Legette, and they doubled down. Or maybe it was just a move where the guys say, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is our best player on the board. Let's take the best player off the board. I'm never opposed to that. I just think that's the best way to build your team. I know a lot of guys or a lot of organizations like to look at it and say, oh, what do we need? What's our need? I think that's how you kind of end up in a little bit of trouble drafting for need, because it makes you, it presents yourself as thirsty, right? You're trying to fit in a piece that may not fit exactly what it is that you guys like to do, or maybe he's just not projected to be the best guy on the board. And if you got a guy that you think can be instant impact, go get him.
All right, so yeah, you know, man, I do think it just speaks to, as we see the board play out, and you watch it too, like Mason Graham going off to the Browns. That was probably a gut punch to that Panthers war room, because I think they probably would have picked him if he was there, and clearly they wouldn't have picked Jalen Walker if it were Graham and Walker. And then the report from Adam Schefter that Dan Morgan was like on the phone, like trying to trade back. So it does seem to me like they felt like they were in that stuck position. Is that, do you think that's kind of how they felt in that moment there in the last 20 minutes?
Absolutely, Nick. I tell you what, you know, Dan Morgan spoke about it previously last week about being stuck. And, you know, he tried to walk it back and say that's not what he meant, or, you know, the proper verbiage to be using at the moment. But when the board shook out, it looks like that's exactly what happened. The Panthers felt like they were stuck between their guy and making a move, possibly getting an offer. They knew they weren't going to get a haul like Cleveland got from Jacksonville. So why not take the best guy on the board? And when you're stuck with a guy like Tet McMillan, whose everyone's comp is Mike Evans, I think that's a pretty good player to be stuck with. Now I know he does lack a little bit on the athleticism, speed.